Let's get right back into the questions. We're going to begin right now with the topic of abortion, gentlemen. And both of you have said that you are against a national abortion ban. Mr. Jones, coming to you first. Should a bill enshrining abortion rights include any limitations? You have 60 seconds here.
Look, we may both say that we oppose a national abortion ban, but only one of us is telling the truth. I will stop Republicans like Mike Lawler from passing a national abortion ban into law. The fact is, Mike Lawler always votes against abortion. He has voted on at least 10 different occasions and counting to restrict access to abortion care. He told the Journal News that he would like to see nearly no abortions take place at all in the state of New York, and you can go back and read that article. He also cheered the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which has resulted in nearly half the states in this country seeing abortion bans go into place. I trust women to make their own health care decisions. Okay, I don't think there's any role for the government to play in a doctor's office in a conversation between a woman and her physician. This puts me at odds with my opponent. He says he won't vote for a national abortion ban, but if Donald Trump calls for it, and he's feeling like he can do what he wants to do, he's absolutely going to vote for it. And that is why this election is so important. In Congress, I helped pass the Women's Health Protection Act, which would restore the protections in Roe v. Wade. And it would bring us back to where we were the day before the Dobbs decision overturned
Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Jones, thank you. But the question here was, should a bill enshrining abortion rights include any limitations?
So the Women's Health Protection Act, which is something that I co-sponsored and voted for twice in Congress, simply restores the protections in Roe v. Wade. Okay, it doesn't do what he says. He likes to say that it's abortion after birth, which is so ridiculous and so MAGA coded, because that's where he's getting his talking points
Mr. Jones,
from, and it's offensive to women.
Mr. Lawler, coming to you now. If a bill codifying Roe v. Wade came up for a vote, how would you vote? 60 seconds to you, Mr. Lawler.
Look, I've been very clear on this issue. In 2020, my wife and I experienced a miscarriage after years of trying to get pregnant. It was a very difficult moment for us. We went to see her OBGYN and had our first ultrasound, and we were excited about the prospects of being parents. And unfortunately, we're told that our child didn't have a heartbeat and that it wasn't a viable pregnancy. My wife had to have a DNC. I understand the complexity of these issues. I have been very clear. I do not support a federal ban on abortion. No matter how many times he tries to lie about it. And the Wall Street Journal said it is flat out false. The fact is that I've always supported exceptions for rape, incest, the life and health of the mother at any point. I have fought in this Congress to codify access to IVF. I have fought to support access to contraception. I have fought to block efforts by my own party to ban access to mifepristone.
Mr. Lawler, thank you.
So I've been very clear on these
Mr. Lawler,
issues.
the question was, if the bill came up for a vote, how would you vote, yes or no?
Look, the bill is not coming to the floor of the House, number one. Number two, the fact is New York's law is settled, and I am not seeking to change it. Abortion rights in New York are codified into law, period.
Mr. Jones, I see you'd like to...
Yeah, he doesn't want to answer it, but he said it in the past.
30 seconds.
He would absolutely vote against restoring the protections that were contained in Roe v. Wade, a constitutional right that was just taken away from millions and millions of women when Mike Lawler got his way and Donald Trump was elected, who then stacked the Supreme Court with far-right activists. He did say one thing that was correct, and that is it won't come to a vote, the restoration of those basic freedoms, so long as he remains in Congress. It is why voters in the 17th Congressional District have to understand that a vote for him is a vote to take away women's reproductive freedom.
Mr. Jones,
and is a vote to keep a MAGA
time.
Republican majority in Congress next January for a Donald Trump presidency, potentially.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawler, 30 seconds to you.
The fact is that it has been reverted to the states. New York's law is codified into law. It is not changing. Abortion is legal up to 24 weeks, and the life and health of the mother is absolutely always legal. The fact is that my opponent is the only extreme one on this stage. He supports abortion up to birth. He does support non-doctors performing abortions. He's against parental notification. He's for gender selection. The only extremist here is Mondaire Jones, period.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to respond.
It sounds like you're parroting Donald Trump's talking points, and it makes sense because you're so in line with him, and you said a few days ago that you would vote for his radical Project 2025 agenda.
No, I did. Mondaire,
with
you are the
Mike
biggest
Johnson and
liar
Robert.
I've ever
Here's
heard
the thing,
in my
this
life.
idea of abortion
Nobody
after
has
birth
ever
all it
said
takes-
supporting
Give it
Project
15 seconds.
2025.
Listen, Mike Lawler
it's
will
absolutely
tell you whatever
pathetic.
you want to hear, but he will vote just like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the extreme MAGA Republicans every chance he gets. And that is why it's critically important that on this issue of credibility, whether you believe him when he says he won't vote for a national
Mr.
abortion
Jones,
ban,
that is time for
you
you.
not be distracted
Mr.
by
Jones,
the
thank you.
editorial
I gave
board
you
of the
15
far-right
seconds.
Wall Street Journal,
I
but
have
rather
voted,
his
I have
record
voted
voting
with
to
Mr.
restrict
Josh
abortion on 10
Gentlemen,
different
I have
Mr.
voted
Lawler.
with Josh Gottheimer more than I have Marjorie Taylor Greene. So for you to just
That's not
continue,
true, Mike.
yes,
Come
it
on,
is.
man.
Mr. Lawler, you get
I know you have a
15
difficult
seconds.
time with
That's not
facts,
true.
but
Guys,
it's sad.
you know that's not true.
You really have a difficult time telling the truth.
You
It's really
have a
pathetic.
difficult time
We're
performing in
going to leave it
Congress.
there right now. Mr. Lawler, you get 15 seconds uninterrupted. Your time starts now.
Look, the bottom line here is Mondaire Jones has tried to use the issue of abortion because he cannot defend his record in Congress. He has nothing else to talk about. The fact is, abortion is legal in New York. It is not changing. I am not seeking to change it, period.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, gentlemen. We're going to move on right now to an issue that really has become part of a national discussion, and that is transgender athletes in girls and women's sports. Mr. Lawler, you have said that you are against voting on Prop 1 in New York because of its protections for transgender people, even when it comes to sports. Can you point to a specific case, Mr. Lawler, in your district where this has been an issue? And would you go further and ban transgender athletes from playing in girls and women's sports at the national level? You have 60 seconds here.
Look, this is obviously a very complicated situation. There are athletes that currently do reside in the district in which this is a case. I'm not going to specify for out of respect, but the fact is that it is of concern. And the reality here is that what this proposition would do is not only expand certain protections for instance, non-citizens, including the right to vote. Here in New York City, Democrats tried to pass legislation allowing non-citizens the ability to vote in local elections. It was thrown out after Republicans sued because it is unconstitutional. By stating national origin, this will become a problem. It will eliminate parental rights because it puts age in there. So age is not just about seniors, but it would also apply to those under the age of 18. In addition, it would allow boys to play in girls' sports. Folks are rightfully concerned about these issues.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. But the question was, would you like to see this done at the national level? A ban?
I voted in support of legislation precluding boys from playing in girls' sports in Congress.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. Mr. Jones, do you support allowing transgender athletes to play on girls' and women's teams? I'll give you 60 seconds here.
Yeah, so let me walk the audience through the BS we just heard when he says the reason why he's opposing Prop 1. He previously said that the right to abortion is safe in the state of New York. But of course, Prop 1 would codify abortion rights in our state constitution to make it even harder to take away, even though people should not lose sight of a national abortion ban, which if Mike Lawler got his way would make no one safe here in the state of New York, even if Prop 1 were to become law. And he also, by the way, refuses to say that he would support the Women's Health Protection Act, which would restore the minimal protections that were contained when Roe v. Wade was still the law of the land. He distracts from his desire to oppose, his clear desire to oppose the right of women to make their own health care decisions by making it about something else. When it comes to sports, this is up to local school districts and parents to decide. It's not up to politicians to decide this stuff. And he wants to distract by having a conversation about that from his abysmal record trying to restrict women's right to abortion.
Mr. Jones, thank you. And
Mr. Lawler,
Mr. Lawler, we have to move on. We have to, for the sake of time and topics, we have to move on. Mr. Lawler, we are moving on to the next topic right now, and that is presidential politics. Mr. Jones, President Biden said this about your opponent last year. Take a listen, please.
Mike is the kind of guy that when I was in the Congress, they were the kind of Republican I was used to dealing with. But he's not one of these MAGA Republicans.
So, Mr. Jones, do the president's remarks undermine your claim that Mr. Lawler is an extremist, or are you saying that the president is wrong? President Biden is wrong. You have 60 seconds here.
I'm fully comfortable saying that the President Biden is wrong. In fact, the whole purpose of that visit that he made to the district was to highlight my opponent's record of extremism. Maybe people will recall that he was taking us to the brink through partisan politics when it came to not committing to vote to honor our debt obligations. So we almost defaulted on our debt as a nation. which would have been disastrous for the economy and would have caused, obviously, many Americans to lose their jobs and other havoc throughout our economy. Here's the thing. Mike Lawler has a record, after having been in Congress for the past 2 years, that is clearly extreme. We don't need to listen to what Joe Biden has to say about it. We can look at his votes 10 times and counting to restrict access to abortion. The fact that he has voted 19 times and counting against protecting Social Security and Medicare. His vote for the baseless impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. And, of course, the fact that he has voted to cut funding for the Department of Education, for example, by 30% on September 29, 2023.
Mr. Jones, thank you.
And is supporting Donald Trump for the third consecutive presidential election.
Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Lawler, 30 seconds here.
Look, the fact is I was praised by Joe Biden because of my ability to work across the aisle. I've been rated the 4th most bipartisan member of Congress. He rated 381st. I voted against my own party 32% of the time. He voted with his party over 99% of the time, including with AOC and the squad over 97% of the time. I've passed 10 bills, 5 of which have been signed into law by Joe Biden. Mondaire passed 1 to rename a post office. Our records are quite clear. I've actually gotten things done for the district, including bringing back over $70 million in community project funding, more than double what he did when they controlled all of Congress.
Mr. Lawler, we now want to play a statement
Can I respond to that? I mean, that would just like very quickly. Yeah, no one is at risk of thinking that this extreme MAGA Republican majority has been somehow productive. When I was in Congress, I passed a number of bills: the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, the American Rescue Plan Act, which, by the way, brought so many more resources and federal dollars to the district than anything he could ever imagine having done over the past 2 years.
Thank you. And Mr. Lawler, we now want to play a statement that former President Trump recently made about you. Listen, please.
Somebody who's been really spectacular, especially for the last few months. I don't know what happened to him, but boy, he likes me a lot better now than he used to. Michael Lawler.
So, Mr. Lawler, does that comment from the former president indicate that you now align more with his agenda? You have 60 seconds.
No, again, I think it speaks volumes to my ability to get praise from both sides of the aisle. The fact is that, again, I have been an extremely productive member representing this district, unlike my opponent who shut down his office 2 months before his term expired and ran to Brooklyn to go run for Congress. What do you mean it's not true? You absolutely
I did not shut down my office.
The fact is, my office has done the work in this district. I've done over 1,000 events since I have taken office. We've closed over 4,500 individual constituent cases, brought back over $20 million to constituents. When he shut his office down, people with Social Security cases, Medicare cases pending, they were left in the lurch because he didn't care enough to finish the job.
Not true.
The fact is, I'm doing the job representing this district and working on the issues that matter, and I'll work with anybody to get things done. It is why President Biden praised me and said I'm not extreme. And the fact is, when President Trump is right, I'll say it. And when he's wrong, I'll say it. I was against the cap on salt, and I said it.
Okay,
the fact is, I will work to get things done.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. Mr. Jones, 30 seconds here.
Yeah, so BS when it comes to his support for Donald Trump. This is a guy who has, Donald Trump, praised Hitler. He is someone who says he wants to jail his political opponents. He said Jewish people would be to blame if he were to lose the November election. Okay, Mike Lawler doesn't call out any of that stuff. In fact, he defended Donald Trump when he made that dangerous anti-Semitic comment about Jewish people. The reason Donald Trump is saying that there has been a reversal in the mood, the feelings that Mike Lawler has for him isn't because all of a sudden Mike Lawler started liking Donald Trump.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
He's been supporting him for the last 3 presidential elections.
Thank you.
It's because he's been leaning into MAGA extremism, and people are finding out that he's going to be a vote for Donald Trump's dangerous Project 2025
you get 15 seconds here to respond.
By the way, the only one that got chastised for anti-Semitism on this stage by your own Democratic colleagues is you. Josh Gottheimer, Jared Moskowitz called you out when you put up an anti-Semitic tweet attacking the leadership of New Square. By the way, how'd that work out for you?
All right, gentlemen, we are going to move on to Mr. Lawler. I'm going to stay with you right now. Mr. Lawler, you consistently tout your bipartisan nature and say that Democrats need to stop using rhetoric that demonizes the other side. But at a Trump-Vance fundraiser in New Jersey on July 28th, you also said this. Take a listen.
This election is a choice. A choice between a candidate for president who loves this country versus a party that hates this country.
So, Mr. Lawler, can you please explain the differences in your statements? You have 60 seconds here.
Yeah, look, I've been very clear. Obviously, rhetoric of any kind that demeans or belittles folks is wrong, and I apologized for that. But what I was talking about in that speech, and obviously you took a snippet of it, but what I was talking about in that speech was that week, Benjamin Netanyahu was in the United States giving a joint session address to Congress, and we had folks within the Democratic Party outside the Capitol taking down the American flag, burning it, and raising the Hamas flag. That's what I was specifically referring to in my remarks, which was given 2 days after that event occurred. The fact is that we have a problem in our country, and I have worked tirelessly to find areas of agreement and work across the aisle, show up in every community, represent everybody that is a constituent of mine, regardless of their politics, regardless of their race, their ethnicity, their religion, and I will continue to do that. My opponent just this week referred to me as Satan, called me the Prince of Darkness. It's
Satan,
pathetic.
right?
Well, who is the Prince of Darkness? What does that mean?
You.
Mr. Jones,
okay, so you called me Satan.
I'll give you 15 seconds here.
Thanks so much. There's never any context for calling Democrats a plurality of his constituents for the time being people who hate America. That is despicable language. And it reveals him for the person he really is when he's not thinking he's being recorded.
Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Lawler,
he is
15.
deeply divisive, and his
called
president,
every Republican.
Mr. Lawler, 15, and then we're moving on.
Is emblematic
Mr. Jones,
of this kind
thank
of
you.
rhetoric
Mr. Lawler,
and
15 seconds, then we're moving on.
You called every Republican part of a fascist movement. You referred to me just the other day as Satan. You've called cops racist and white supremacists. You've called ICE agents terrorists. Don't lecture me on civility. You have
Gentlemen,
a long
thank you
record
very much.
of being
Gentlemen,
uncivil.
we are going to move on. And Mr. Jones, coming to you right now. During your successful 2020 run for Congress, you had this to say to the group Food and Water Action. Please listen.
Of course, we need to end mass incarceration and legalize cannabis and defund the police.
Can you commit to supporting a dramatic defunding of ICE and CBP? And what kinds of actions can you take to rally Democratic leadership and government around this vital demand?
Yeah, I'm in support of that.
Mr. Jones, you point to never actually voting to defund the police in Congress. And in a new ad, you said your opponent is, quote, highlighting something dumb I said when I was younger,
dumb,
end quote. But just to finish the question here, to clarify, you were 33 and running for Congress 4 years ago. So please explain what led to your change in position. 60 seconds.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Mike Lawler has sought to focus on comments I made before I was ever elected to Congress to hide from the fact that when I was in Congress, I always voted for record levels of police funding as well as record levels of funding to secure our border. And that it's been Mike Lawler who has voted on 3 different occasions to cut funding for law enforcement. And it's been Mike Lawler who has voted on multiple occasions to reduce funding to secure our southern border. In fact, look no further than the fact that he's blocking a bipartisan border security bill right now as we have this conversation. Many of the comments you just aired were dumb, obviously. And in fact, many of them were intended to communicate things that were not well communicated. The fact is, we do have a serious problem of inequality in our criminal legal system. And the hiring of more mental health first responders, like what they have in Peekskill, for example, which works very well, and hiring more social workers is not communicated well through the stupid phrase, defund the police. It's why when I was in Congress, I never voted to cut funding for law enforcement. My opponent has done that.
Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Lawler, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond here.
As AOC said, Mondaire Jones is the pride of New York. She didn't say that because he made some dumb comments when he was younger. She said that because he agrees with her on these issues of defunding the police, of defunding ICE, of stopping border wall. He wanted to give blanket amnesty to criminal aliens. He wanted to allow cop killers the right to vote from prison. This is not some dumb thing he said when he was younger. This is something he ran on when he won a congressional seat in 2020. The fact is, Mondaire Jones is a radical extremist. And you heard him tonight earlier say he never said these things. You literally just watched it. He lied to your face.
No,
Okay,
you say so many lies.
Mr. Jones, thank
that
you.
when I say I didn't say something, you don't know what you're talking about because
Mr.
you
Jones,
list off
Mr.
It's all on radicalmondaire.com.
You rattle off 15 lies like you're hero.
Gentlemen, we are
You lie
nearing and
effortlessly
reaching the
without
end
shame,
of this
without
debate.
remorse.
Mr. Jones, thank you. We are reaching the end of this very lively and spirited debate. And it was a very long and contentious campaign as well. So heading into the final weekend, we'd like you to share one quality about your opponent that you respect and admire. You have 30 seconds, beginning with you, Mr. Lawler.
Look, Mondaire has a great life story. He picked himself up out of poverty, Section 8 housing, went to some of our finest institutions, worked in the Obama administration. He's the first openly gay black man ever elected to Congress. That is something to celebrate in this country. It speaks volumes to where we have come from where we were. And I respect that. And I respect Mondaire. Yes, we have stark differences. But the fact is, he's a good person. And while we have fought it out in this campaign, I am proud of the fact that he did make history.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. And Mr. Jones, what is one quality about your opponent that you respect or admire? You have 30 seconds here.
Well, let me just say that I have, as long as I've known him, considered Mike Lawler to be a friend, even as we have very different visions for the lower Hudson Valley and for the nation. And we have battled over those differences over the course of this, at times, very contentious race. One of the things I like about Mike is that he's a family man. I mean, you can tell when a guy loves their family. And it tells you about just the quality of the individual. And so I respect that about him. Frankly, as someone who didn't always have all of those family structures growing up, I admire it.
All right, Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Lawler, thank you. That is all the questions we have for tonight, but it is time for 60-second closing statements. Mr. Jones, your time starts right now.
Yeah. So we've heard a lot of lies tonight from my opponent about my record. But here's the truth. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. This is an election about restoring women's reproductive freedom. It's an election about protecting Social Security and Medicare for generations to come, even as my opponent has come out in support of raising the age of retirement, which would be a cut to hard-earned benefits. This is an election about securing our southern border. I'm the only person on this stage who's willing to pass that bipartisan border security legislation that was torpedoed because people like Mike Lawler acted at the direction of Donald Trump. It's also about who we're going to send to Congress for what may well be a Donald Trump presidency. I'm the only person who's willing to stand up to Donald Trump. It's why voters in the swing district of the 17th Congressional District should choose me over my opponent, among many other reasons, because I'm not going to bend the knee and make excuses for Donald Trump and do his bidding when he wants to advance his dangerous Project 2025 agenda. I'm going to stand up to him when he's wrong, and I'm going to protect our democracy, our basic freedoms, and work to build an economy that works for everybody.
Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Lawler, your 60 seconds starts right now.
Look, as Ed Koch famously said, if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 things, vote for me. If you agree with me on 12 out of 12 things, go have your head examined. We're not going to agree on everything, and that's a good thing. That's why we have a robust democracy. But I know this, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat doesn't really matter. All of us want a few basic things in life: a good paying job to provide for our families, a quality education for our children, access to housing and health care, and we want to live in safe neighborhoods. That's why I'm running for Congress. My wife and I just welcomed our second daughter this week. I want my 2 daughters, I want your families to have a better future. I want us all to be able to provide for our families, to live comfortably, to live safely. We need an America that is more prosperous, a border that is more secure, a world that is more peaceful. That is why I'm running. I hope to have your vote on Tuesday, November 5th, and I thank you for watching tonight.
Mr. Lawler, thank you. And that, everyone, concludes a very lively and spirited debate. I want to thank both of the candidates for being here tonight and for you at home watching as well.